So good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome, or a very cold welcome, I should say, to our first Plymouth Food Aid Network meeting of 2024. For those of you that can't join us, we hope that you're able to watch this, obviously, on, I guess you are watching it on Catch Up. We're going to give some updates, first of all. First, an apology just from Ian Smith that he's unable to join us this morning, but he's given some updates that Kelly is very kindly going to do on his behalf. And we've also got Jenny Taylor from Public Health who's with us today, and she's going to be giving a little bit of an insight into the Thrive programme, what it is for Plymouth, what we do, and how you can be involved. And well, I won't say any more. I'll leave that to Jenny a little bit later. So as I say, we'll do a bit of recording with the updates, and then we'll switch the recording off and then just have a general chat for those that are in the room. Kelly, could I hand over to you?
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Kelly Fritzsche. I'm the food co-op organiser for Plymouth. Just quickly, for the last 12 months, we trialled different types of food co-ops to see what worked in what locations, how they worked best, and then what we would be able to roll out. So what was our easiest model that fitted with our co-op values and principles. Based on that, we know that the food co-ops, where 20 people come together in a community and they pool their money and they use their own time to sort their food and share their food, and then they take it away themselves. So it is truly a grassroots co-op. It is owned and run by the members in that co-op. Works really, really well. And then what we see on the back of that as well, so that the ripple effect from it, going to cookery courses, going to maths courses, having citizens advice there, getting that kind of thing, and PEC, all of those things work really, really well at those food co-ops, and they are organised by themselves, by those 20 people in that group. So that's what we're going to continue to roll out. Based on that, myself, Ian Smith, Rachel Silcock, Mark Rolls, and Lewis Allison worked on the UK Prosperity bid. We did manage to secure the funding, so we got £252,000. We are going to set up 6 food co-ops within the next 14 months. We will set up 2 co-op social supermarkets. We'll have 1 van that has chilled capacity where we can pick up the food from FareShare and deliver it to these co-ops. And there will also be a small scale manufacturing unit. I oversee the food co-ops and the co-op social supermarkets. So what are we doing? We are looking at now all of the different locations in which these food co-ops can be based. So that's what I'm spending my time doing at the moment. I know some of those locations based on the interest from last year when we started to roll them out. We've worked with community builders to see where there's interest in their locations. I've worked with Ian Smith, and he's been able to tell me some locations that are interested. And I've worked with John from TPT, who has connected me with some churches where there's interest as well in Plymouth. So that's currently the stage that we're at. Then I go to all those locations, I fully explain what a co-op is, what's needed, what the commitment will be, the types of venue that's needed, where we can roll them out. And then they go into their communities and find interest. Are there 20 people interested? You don't have to have 20 people to start up. You need 10 to start up, and then really quickly you gain interest. So that's what we're currently doing. We have a lot of interest. So we've got 6 that we can set up and fund. The funding is for the first year. It pays for FareShare for the first year, and it pays for some small costs. The reason for that is because when you don't have 20 people and you start your food co-op, we don't want anyone to be anxious about how are we going to pay for this FareShare food that's coming. So that's why it's covered. Now, what I've found with the ones that we've set up is actually within weeks, we have the full 20 members. And then that's pretty consistent for us. It keeps going. The one in Mayflower, it's never changed. We have an interest list. So where we have had people leave is because they've moved. So they've moved out of the area. And then we get someone from our interest list and they come up. So the very next week, we've got 20 people again. It does need 20 people to be able to sustain it. 20 people paying £3 each covers the cost of the 150 kilograms of food from FareShare, which is £60 a week. For the first year, what they're able to do with that £60, they still collect the same money, is they go out and spend it. So they have like a shopping list. Someone will look after that within the group, and they go and spend that £60. So they'll buy in bulk or they'll buy surplus and share it like they do with the FareShare food. After the 12 months, it's then the decision of that co-op. Do we want to keep doing what we were doing before? And we pay in our £3 and that will cover the cost of FareShare. Do we want to pay in a little bit more? And each co-op will make their own decision. Do we all pay in £4 and have a little bit of money and go shopping with that, or £5 or £6? And then if you're doing £6, you're doing exactly what you were doing before. So each co-op will make that decision. Each co-op looks different. They look completely different. I go out and I set them all up and I go through everything, but they should look different because they're based on you as a group and your community, and they should run for you. They are owned and they are run by their members, and I can't say enough good things about them because I see them every single day and I see what comes out of them. So yes, that's what we're planning to do this year. And if there is any interest, then you can email me. You did send out the video. I saw that, Tammy. So we were on Spotlight and that video was sent out by PFAN. There is a link to that on the newsletter that was sent out. So you are able to see the one working in Mayflower and how that runs and operates. The university co-op, they've just moved over now. So it's fully student-led. So it was being helped by the SU when they first started, because there are so many students. We were like, well, how can we do this for 20 people? So we trialed it lots of different ways, and it has just moved over now. So they've been doing 2 weeks of fully student-led sorting and taking away and payments, everything they do for themselves. So yeah, it's working really, really well. And when they're in different areas, we're able to see different things that are happening and how they're working. And that's why each one looks different, because the communities that we're running in look different. The food co-ops just need a venue, really. They are self-sustaining. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think I've covered absolutely everything for the update and the food co-ops.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Kelly. I do have a question, actually. So if there's a food aid provider watching this now and they think, I'd quite like, could we set up a co-op here? Could we be part of that co-op? Is that possible?
Yes, we would need to look at some different things where people are already running. If you run and operate and you give out free food, well, then that is something that we need to look at, because these people are going to be paying in for the food that they're getting. We found lots of different things, actually. There are lots of things when we were looking at larders that actually then when we looked at food co-ops, we were able to say, well, you don't need as much of this. So a larder compared to a food co-op, it was less participation of the members. So members have roles in this. So members come and they open up, they take in the delivery, they sort the food, they do their own shopping, they clear it down and they take it away and they pay for it as well. So it doesn't run with any volunteers at all in a member co-op. Everyone who gives their time is a member. So it's member led. We didn't need as much food. So we can rely purely on co-ops from the food that comes from FareShare, and they give everything in 20s. So 20 punnets of grapes or 20, everything is in the 20s. So we just divide it equally by our members. And then we all have like a big bag of shopping that we take away. Obviously, any shopping we do on top of that just adds to the food that we have. But we have got ones where they work on surplus completely and they don't do any additional shopping. The space that's needed, you don't need very much space at all to run out of these. And it is just a pop-up space. So we use it for an hour or two a week. We don't need any storage space either, because we don't store any food. Everything that comes is sorted and taken that week. The funds for extra supplies, putting in bids, doing all of those things, we don't actually need any of that either, because the money is covered by the members for FareShare. And the bid that we've put in is just to say, look, we'll get you up and running for the first year, so you don't have to worry about any of those things if you haven't got 20 members. but it isn't essential at all. So yes, it was we looked at different models. We ran different models. We ran the food clubs, so we were able to see actually how do they work and would they work alongside. And that's something that you'd need to discuss really on a one-to-one basis, because you'd need to think about how would it work alongside volunteers who are doing this operation, and if we're giving food out for free, when we then bring people in who are members, they own their co-op, they do it all themselves, and they pay for all of their food and they take it away. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, that's really helpful. You say you're talking past tense that you've run a food club. So looking at Manadin, for example, does that mean that you've walked away as in your level of support now, or because we understand they're still running and they're going to continue running because it's been so successful? So how does that work once that area of the project's finished?
So we trialled Manadin as a co-op, so a food co-op club. Now Manadin is more of a larder than a co-op. And it's really important to me that if we are saying you're a co-op, you're a co-op. You are member owned and member run. And in that co-op, it wasn't member owned and member run, because that's actually quite difficult to do at that scale. And it does need to be based on the organisation. So we know now, actually, the organisations that we're working with, they need co-op knowledge. They've either been a co-op previously, or they have a good knowledge of a co-op, or they actually want to be a co-op. It's something that they believe in. They believe in those principles. They are happy for it to be member owned and member run and not organisation run. And that's what's very different. And we do have every person has a one vote, and we all vote on what we would like, and then we go majority rule. So with 20 members, we send it out on the WhatsApp group, we all just do a vote, and then that's how we go, what's the majority for us? And that works really well. It's your co-op, you should have a say in what's happening, in how it's run. And so it is a really different way of working, and it doesn't fit all organisations. So with Manadin running as a larder, that works much better for them. That organisation prefers that way of working. It's easier for them at that scale.
And that's similar with Four Greens, obviously, as well, with a much larger scale. I know we've got Eve on the call.
So Four Greens are going to be the trial for a co-op social supermarket. So Four Greens previously used to be cooperative. They used to be a cooperative. So they fully understand the model and how it works and runs. The other social supermarket, co-op social supermarket, is going to be Millfields. And they have really good grounding in co-ops, fully understand them and what they are and how they operate, and the reason that actually being a co-op is so good for the community. So yes, they will be the two of them. They are bigger scale, and so we will need to look at where they run as a larder, actually what it takes to be a co-op. And obviously at Millfields, they're not running anything at all at the moment. So they are two completely different trials that we'll get loads of learnings from. We did last year, and it's never the long-term plan to run a food co-op club. The long-term plan was to move to food co-ops, but 12 months ago, we were so far away from things being member owned and member run and people paying for food. It just wasn't what we were really doing. So we were, how can we get there? How can we do something that looks very similar to what we're currently doing with larders, but move it along on a co-op model? So that eventually we are at this place where we have got these food co-ops popping up in communities that are owned and run by the people within the community that benefit those people, that don't rely on volunteers and organisations to be able to do it for them. They do it themselves, and they decide themselves what they need, what food they would like. That's really important. That's what they spend their shopping money on.
Kelly, thanks. That's fascinating. I guess what you're saying is that it's not just about food; it's about local agency.
Absolutely.
People developing a sustainable, supporting each other in a sustainable way.
Yeah, and building those friendships as well. That's what we've seen here. You know, having a sense of community. And we've absolutely seen that. Like in Mayflower now, we've gone from just coming in and doing our shopping on a Friday to then asking, look, can we use the venue for longer? Can we have tea and coffee? We have biscuits, we're bringing cakes, we'll all sit and chat. It's now like 2 hours long, but it's 2 hours long because we want to stay and have those conversations and spend time together. Where Tammy has sent out, would you like to come to these courses? Our members have gone to the courses where they wouldn't have before, but they're going together. They're not on their own, so they've got confidence to be able to go. We teamed up with a school that's next to that co-op, and they offered maths courses for adults. And we had 4 members go because they could go together. They didn't want to go on their own. And now they attend the coffee morning on a Wednesday that's run at that local church because they know each other and they meet there. They do the school drop off and they go together and they have coffee and cake. And it really is a really good sense of like community. And people said on the video spotlight, you know, they felt lonely or isolated. They've made friends, they've saved money on their shopping bill, and they've learned different skills from being in one.
I mean, it's probably early days, but do you find you tend to get certain dominant individuals within?
No. So that is part of like what we would go through when we do the training, because you know we need every different person from a community to be able to make up a co-op, and they are open membership. But no, we don't, because we really do have a constitution that we sign up to, that we agree in our co-op, and part of that is, you know, fairness and honesty and looking after each other. And so no, we have a lot more of, I could come this week because my son is ill, could I? And then someone straight away is on the WhatsApp group, I'll bring your bag over to you, I know where you are and I'll pick up the money. Or we've got some teachers that are in our co-op at Mayflower, so they can't always collect because they're working at that time that we meet. So another member might pick it up and drop it up to the school when they're doing the school run. And that it is a sense of like everyone working together to help each other. We have not had, you know, where we do votes, you're voting yes or no. And that's your vote, that's your choice, and we respect your choice. And we'll go with majority rules. That's what we sign up to. Cooperation.
Can I ask, Kelly, will all the co-ops, once they're set up, will everybody be receiving the same foods?
No. So it is fair share. You know, fair share is it's whatever they have, it's surplus, isn't it? So everyone who joins, they sign up to that what's coming is, and I always say this when we go around and we meet members and we're talking to them, it's surplus food. Okay, so this joining a co-op isn't going to be for you if you are like brand loyal and you only like a certain brand and you're not, or if actually you prefer ready meals or convenience food, or because lots of this is, you know, fresh food. It's you having some competency in the kitchen because you'll get, you know, potatoes, cabbage. There's nothing like weird and wonderful that we've received. We get tomatoes, we get fruit, cabbage, butternut squash. It's just knowing how to add those things into the meal. That's where, when we've teamed up with Tammy and Grow Chef Cook, that actually you learn some different ways of doing things. And so we've all done that, and that's been really good. But they know. So people will join and then see, is this for me? Is this something I like? And if it's not, that's absolutely fine. And you leave, and we've got other people on the interest list that then come up. But very quickly, and I mean, it happened within weeks, we had our consistent 20 people who knew really what they're getting every single week and that really happy with it. We don't have what I see quite a lot when I go to Larders, which is like, this is not what I want, this is not what I'd buy, this is not, we really don't have that.
One thing we've noticed with my Food is Fun hat on is going along to the Larders and actually being there and having that presence where we're there with a hob and cooking the food that's coming in. It's very much ready, steady, cook style, because we don't know what we're going to have until the night before. But just being able to be there and demonstrating how to cook a celeriac, how to prepare, how to store it as well safely, and those other elements. And that whole education piece is very much part of the bigger picture that we're looking at, yeah, because it's all about collaboration, and for these to work, people need to have those knowledge and those skills as well. As we've seen, I know I was down at Four Greens before Christmas using a couple of ingredients that they were finding it quite difficult to move on because of lack of knowledge of how to use them. But once they'd seen how they were cooked, tasted, and then off they'd go, and they actually took loads, which was brilliant, fantastic. And so we want to have that regular presence to be able to support, the network as best as we can from that education angle as well.
Yeah.
So
we don't, that's something that we don't see either, because we've paid for the food and we divide equally by 20. Everybody takes, their fair share. If there's something that they don't like, we have a overs table, and you go to the overs table and you put it on the overs table, and then another member, when they're coming and doing their shopping, that overs table, once you've put it there, it's not yours anymore, it's whoever else wants to come up and take that food, and that's what they do. And anything we can't divide equally by 20 goes on that overs table as well. And then we always have an exit plan in each of our co-ops. So if we have a little bit left over, which actually is never more than a green tray, that will go to a different place depending on what co-op you're in. So at the one at Mayflower, that's like the parishioners in the church. They will come and then they'll have it because they are there the next day. So we share the food out. And at the university, they put it in the SU building. So that's opened up to students. And we are just talking when we have like something that somebody has said, oh, I don't want that, and another member hasn't taken it, or we have a huge glut of something. So that we had 4 boxes of on the vine tomatoes. That's a lot, for each member. And although they're really good, and each member will take them because they'll make pasta sauce with them, they make tomato soup with them, it will all do those things. It's still quite a lot. So yeah, we do always, and you do need to have an exit plan for your food. That's really important, and it should be done anyway, based on the food safety training that we've done. Part of our role here is to stop food going to landfill, to stop it going to waste, and that's really important. And that might just be your sole reason for being in a food co-op, is that. So they are open membership. I know I've discussed this before, but we do get asked all the time. Open membership. Many different reasons you join a food co-op. It could be an environmental impact reason. It could be because it's a financial reason. It might be a social isolation reason. You want to come out and do something and meet people and make friends. It might just be that you really like the cooperative model and you want it to succeed in your area. So you join it and you want to be part of that movement. So yeah, there's lots of different reasons, and anyone can join. And I can't stress this enough, and I say it every single time I meet people. It's open for a reason, because it takes every type of person within a community to make that community and to help it run. So we don't have any of that. This person has this kind of car. Why are they coming with? Well, because actually they could be the person that goes out and picks up the shopping because they've got that car. So it takes everybody. We need everybody to make it work.
That's fantastic. So if somebody's watching this call and they think, do you know what, I actually just want to set that up, and they could live anywhere in the city, they can just contact you and you'll see what we can do.
Yes, yeah, I can let you know where they're already running within the area. I can let you know where the interest is currently. So we have gone out, we've got 6 places, we visited 12 so far. So yeah, we have got a lot of interest for the food co-ops, which is really good. And our 2 co-op social supermarkets, we know where they are already. We know where those trials are going to be. And it's really important to us that they are the right locations and that they are actually the right organisations to work with, who understand co-ops and really do want to implement a co-op model, because we don't just say we're a co-op, we are a co-op.
Brilliant. One last thing really is to just make sure that we get you all on the map, because it's now, the food access map rather than the food aid map. So yeah, so it would be really good that people, if they're new to an area, that they can look and see what's about, and then they can see. And next month Jackie from ADOD will be coming down and giving another update, because again we've been working quite a lot behind the scenes on the map and improving more again and making some changes. And the thing with the co-ops, what you can do is it's a bit like a free website for you. So, you know, the members can make this, and we can talk to you offline about that, about how you can own that page and you can have any information about it on there. And it's a very easy, user-friendly model that you can use, and it will really support everything. And everything's then in one place that people can access information on food and where it's available.
All of our current ones are signed up on Adoddle. They are on the map. So yeah, as they get going, add more on. You've had a question in from Ella.
Please, could you explain a bit more about the difference between a co-op and a social supermarket?
Oh yes, I didn't explain. Sorry. I am from the approach now that, you know, I've been going out telling everybody this. So yeah, the co-ops are 20 people in the local community sharing food. And they come together and they share it. The co-op social supermarket will be based on co-op principles, but also on the current social supermarkets where people come in. It looks and feels much more like a supermarket. It is not something that we just pop up into for an hour or two. It is actually a shopping experience that you would go. So it look and feel more like a shop. You go and you are able to pick different things. So you'll be able to pick different items. And let's just say, like, for example, it's 12 items for a certain amount of money, 12 items for £3.50 or £4. And you go and you're actually picking what you would like for your shopping. You would pay to be a member, you would be a co-op member. And then yeah, you would pay at the till as you leave. So it feels more like a shopping experience based on co-op principles and values. So that's the social supermarket. And again, they might be two completely different trials because we know of lots of different social supermarkets currently, and they all use different models. So what suits one location and one venue, one area and their community might not suit the other. So they might decide that they want to run them differently. So that will be based on, yeah, what the members say in those areas.
That's really helpful. Thanks, Kelly. I think, yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that leads quite nicely into, firstly, apologies from Ian, who's unable to join us this morning. He's up in Oxford at a food sequel conference. But he just really wanted me to say that looking at the food collective piece, that is also, as we all know, has been looking at being able to buy and better prices in bulk and to be able to support these larders and these new cooperatives and everything else, still very much in the planning stages. We really do want to encourage as many of you to get involved, because we want people from the PFAN network to to represent that your front line. So if you'd like to get involved more, find out a bit more about it, please do contact Ian directly about that, or myself, and I'll obviously pass that through to him. But we're still looking at premises, still looking at forming that CIC. So, but it is all very much still happening in the background. And as it progresses, you will be obviously all kept informed as much as possible. I don't know if you can add anything to that, Kelly.
There's a 12-week plan now. So there is a 12-week plan to get lots of that done. There's a critical path. There's lots of work that's being done behind the scenes. Mark Rolls is he's currently leading on that now to make sure all of those things get done within that time scale. Looking for directors is what's currently happening, and the meetings are happening every single week now between the key partners to make sure all of those things go forward, and we are actually able to do that this year. So yeah, it's always been really important that actually the money that we have is spent really well, and that we're not having to go to places like Aldi and Lidl to spend the money. Much further, like up north, there's so many places that already do this, that have this capacity. It's just a real shame actually that we don't have that. We don't have like a huge amount of surplus or storage or any of those things this far down from Bristol, really. That kind of thing stops. So being able to do this in Plymouth is absolutely massive. We'll be the first that's able to do this down in the southwest. So it'd be great. I can't wait.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kelly. That's fantastic. Has anyone else got any questions for Kelly at all before she go? I don't know how long you can stay for, but
I
Thank
need
you
to
for
get
coming on
going.
your day
I've
off.
taken up loads of your time. Thank you.
But
Bye.
no, that's brilliant. Thank you. It's been really helpful. Jenny, could we come to you for an update or some information on Thrive,
Yes,
please?
I've got a little PowerPoint, if that's all right.
That's lovely.
A generic Thrive PowerPoint that I wheel out for these presentations. Is that working?
Yeah.
I don't have to use Zoom. Okay. Hello, everybody. I think I know most people, but in case you don't know me, I'm Jenny Taylor. I'm one of the advanced public health practitioners within the public health team at the council. And one of my many responsibilities is running the Thrive Plymouth network. And Tammy thought it would be a good idea for me to come along and give a bit of an update about what Thrive is and how you can get involved. But it is done with the massive caveat that we are currently doing an evaluation of Thrive and what it will look like going forward. So what I'm going to talk about is how Thrive was when it was set up. So it's going to change slightly over the course of the year, and then I'll come back later in the year and give you an update of what it looks like going forward. But it was set up 10 years ago in 2014 as a programme of work tackling health inequalities. As I said, we're now doing a review of the last 10 years of what's worked and what hasn't. It's hosted by the public health team, but it's really run by our network members from all across the city. I'll talk a bit more about them in a minute. I've got a little animation that's hopefully going to work. Is that noise coming through? Right, yes, so as that nice voiceover man said, this is where Thrive was set up around, was this construct around 4454. So these 4 lifestyle behaviours, smoking, drinking, inactivity and diet, lead to 4 diseases: respiratory disease, cancer, heart disease and stroke, which account for 54% of deaths in Plymouth. That's where it was set up, around that construct. But it also recognised that if every person in Plymouth made a small difference, that would have a massive impact over the population health of the whole of Plymouth. So one small change per person adds up rather than one big change for one person. But also recognising that unhealthy behaviours group together. So if you're more likely to smoke, then you're more likely to also drink and have poor diet, and the combined effects of those will perpetuate your risk of those diseases. And also that just people knowing that something is unhealthy for you doesn't necessarily mean you're going to change your lifestyle behaviours. It's not that easy. You have to be able to live in an environment that enables the healthier choices and enables healthier lifestyles. So the community around you has to work for you and your health, rather than just educating people isn't going to be enough. That being said, it's also really hard to make any positive lifestyle decisions if your mental health isn't what you need it to be. So mental health and mental well-being is really important behind Thrive, and we recognise that you have to have good mental well-being before you can do anything else. So we talk about the seesaw effect, about the challenges and the resources, and if they're in balance, you're at the right stage in your life to be able to make those choices, and if they're out of balance, then you're not. Having said all of that, we never focus on the 4-4-54. Each year we have a theme that looks around the person at a holistic element of their life, and that's the things that you need to sort out to really influence behaviours and choices. So each year, as I say, we had a theme. So the first theme was around workplaces, and you might have heard of the Live Well Healthy Workplaces Charter that was set up that year as the first thing that Thrive did, and that promotes like health and wellbeing champions within businesses to encourage them to become healthier. Year 2 was around schools and getting educational settings on board with their impact on health and promoting the Healthy Child Quality Mark. Year 3 was around Public Health England's 1U campaign. So if you Google 1U, you'll get a little quiz that comes up and you can put in your lifestyle behaviours and they'll give you some recommendations. So this year was about making that Plymouth focused. Year 4 was around that mental health. So the 5 ways to wellbeing: connect, learn, be active, notice and give. And how if you do something that meets one of those 5 things every day, your mental wellbeing will be enhanced, and that will then improve your wellbeing. Year 5 was all about food and connecting through food. So we worked really closely with Food Plymouth and Ian. And interestingly, with the review that's going on at the moment, everyone says this was the best year. So we need to duplicate that for anything going forward. We need to get to the core of that. Year 6 was all around culture and heritage and linking in with the Mayflower 400 celebrations. Unfortunately, this year was launched in November 2019 and then got stopped in March 2020 because of the pandemic. And then public health was very much focused on pandemic response, so took a step back from Thrive. And then when we relaunched in May 2022, the theme was on listening and reconnecting, so understanding people's stories and the impact that the pandemic has had on people and coming back together and trying to reinvigorate the network to come together. And this year's theme is focused on where we live. So it's looking at how places and spaces make us feel and the opportunities they provide for our well-being. So that's everything from homelessness to social housing, private rented sector, and then the community around the person. It's a really big year. So we've had the launch event was in October, and there'll be another event in next month once I've set a date. So yes, lots going on this year. The network itself, as I said, the Thrive is really run by the network. So it's got over 260 people from 95 different organisations across the city. And it's really wide ranging who those people are. So there's some healthcare providers, some charities, there's the wellbeing hubs and the community builders are all members of the network. And every single network member is really dedicated to tackling health inequalities. Everyone's really keen to help. Everyone's really keen to get involved. So we meet quarterly to share best practice and learning around this year's theme and just have some informal networking that everyone seems to really enjoy. That's the feedback from the evaluation. That's not just me saying that. And we had this mailing list where you can share updates with one another. So anything you want to share with 260 people across the city, you can just email it out and we'll send it on for you. It's got a really good reach. And by being a member, you have access to lots of free training. So we run appreciative enquiry training. We're currently running energy crisis training that's delivered by PEC. There's some emotional resilience training. There's loads of stuff going on. And if you ever ask for training, we can try and source that for you as well and put that on for our networks. And that's free to any network member. So that's sort of the network and Thrive in a nutshell. But as I say, we are currently doing an evaluation. So it will look slightly different going forward, depending on what the people's feedback are telling us. People seem to like the annual themes, so that's likely to continue, but the nuances around the language and being more trauma informed, we want to really take those principles forward. So watch this space, and if you've got any ideas of what you'd want to see in Thrive or you'd like to join the network now, please just get in touch. The email's there. I'm happy to share the slides with Tammy afterwards so it can go around. That's Thrive in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions?
That's great. Thanks, Jenny. There probably are some questions.
Lindsay.
Yeah, hi. Thanks very much, Jenny. That was a really nice update. I was a little bit involved in Thrive before the pandemic. For example, in one of the hostels, we had medical students running a sort of activity marketplace around the 5 ways to wellness. And that was really good. And I think the year when it was a food theme, I think we were involved as well. By the way, I'm from the soup run. And there were two points that you mentioned in there about current themes that are really of interest to us, and that is homelessness within the way you live. I mean, where you live can be a car park at the moment for quite a few people, and also the health inequalities. So I will be joining up at the end of this meeting and
brilliant
interacting with you.
Yeah, I think there's lots of great work that's going on this year with some of the homeless stuff. We're hoping to set up some homelessness prevention work with some of our community connections team. So hopefully they're, obviously I know you super and deal with those that are already homeless. So I'm sure there's loads of stuff that we could get involved in with this year.
Good, thanks.
Brilliant. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Great.
If anyone's got any questions, they can always obviously contact you, or they can contact us,
absolutely.
and we can pass those over to you. But I mean, we were a member for the last 10 years, and it's been, I recognise what you say about the food year. The food
Everyone says it was the best year, so
it
we need
really
to
was.
pull that out. But why that one was so good, and how can we duplicate that? Because
it was a real catalyst, I think, to showcasing all the amazing work that has been going on in the city very quietly, under the radar, and on the fringes, right into the Tamar Valley, Southeast Cornwall, and everything. And it kind of just brought it out in the open. And I think that's what we found as the themes have gone on. It just alerts people and brings, but once it's happened, it's like, oh no, we want to keep that going. So yes, I mean, I would obviously, I think as we all would on this call, very much welcome food to be, another theme.
Yes, and we've had the discussion internally about if you were to do a food year now, it would probably look very different to how it did then, because back then people were a lot more stable, I suspect, and it was connecting through food, whereas now there's a lot of more, the food poverty is a lot higher on the agenda and the food aid with the cost of living stuff, and so the theme would be very different, would be our perspective, because you couldn't go in. I'd welcome your thoughts on that, Tammy, whether you would agree with the.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously you've got post and pre-pandemic there being the main difference of it all everywhere, and yes, how things have changed. But I also think that we didn't have a PFAN network then. So none of these organisations were represented or were able to represent themselves really. As Lindsay said, Soup Run was involved a little bit, but not much more than that, because it was new. It's and I think that's the beauty of Thrive. It's been around for nearly 10 years now. It's recognised, it's reliable, it's continuous, it's not going away. And actually having something like that, there's always that fear that, oh, it's a 10-year plan, that means that in year 11 it'll all be gone. But knowing that it's not going to go is actually very reassuring for a lot of organisations, especially like the training and things like that. I know we've been able to signpost quite a lot of organisations, volunteers to training, and through the Live Well, Wellbeing to Work and the Charter and everything. There's so many, this ripple effect has, if you could actually map that out and the effect and the impact that it's had, I think you'd be very surprised that, wow, actually didn't realise it went quite so far outwards, because that's the beauty of it. And that's the whole point of being part of a network, isn't it? So
yeah, we'd love to do some ripple effect mapping of it, but I think it's just a bit big, and we'd need so much. I think we might do it as a recommendation going forward to start mapping the ripples, so we don't have to look back for 10 years of ripples.
No, that's fantastic. No, that's great. Thank you. So if no one's got any more questions for Jenny, it would be lovely to just hear a little bit from what has been going on. We've got sort of like 10-12 minutes left of what you've been. How was your winter period? Festival, we're still in winter period obviously, but your Christmas period and over the new year. Lindsay, would you like to give an update on how things were for you and Soup Run?
Yeah, thanks. Well, we've just done a tot up of how many meals we served in 2023, and it was just under 32,000, which works out an average of about 90 a night. But over the week, that's typically 70 Monday to Saturday and 120 odd on a Sunday when we have a soup kitchen at Shekinah as well as the regular run. So the demand is as high as ever. The weather doesn't seem to make a huge difference. At the moment in January, I think it's much colder than last January, and we've seen a 9% increase in demand. So people are hungry out there, no doubt about that. What we always say is it's very much business as usual, but business as usual for us doesn't necessarily mean doing the same. It means doing the same food-wise, making sure that we're feeding people, but also responding to current circumstances. Christmas was wonderful. It was bountiful. We had lots and lots of donations. We're able to give gifts to people. And, you know, when you see somebody, their eyes lighting up with a little goodie bag of a few toiletries, and you realise that maybe the only present they've had that Christmas, it's very humbling. At the moment, a current need is making sure people can get indoors in the cold weather, and there is an offer to get everyone sleeping at the very least on the sleeping bag on the floor in a hostel or similar space. A couple of people are not taking up that offer, which is quite worrying. But that's for personal circumstances reasons. Health issues are a current concern. There are a few people that we see on a daily basis who are really quite poorly, and there's a fantastic service supporting homeless people, the HIP program, but getting people to engage isn't always very easy. So we're very much on that on a daily basis, checking in with people who we know are unwell. And we're benefiting from the Household Support Fund and some other sources of funding at the moment to be able to be reactive to individuals' needs. So we're buying hot water bottles, bus tickets to get people to hospital, heaters, microwaves, and so on. So very much personalised support as widely as we can. Just a quick word on who's helping us. Each month we look at what our teams are being made up of. There's typically 8 or 9 churches, 8 or 9 community organisations. And on Tuesday, the Argyle under-18s joined the run with Hillary to serve people. And it was a really positive experience. It was for these young lads themselves I think they were all lads, I may be wrong on that, but I think they were all lads, to have the opportunity to serve the people, many of whom were their fans, and for the fans to meet these young enthusiastic people was really, really positive. So, we're looking forward to a busy year, but with lots of help and, lots of enthusiasm, but a massive humbling need.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yes, amazing, all of you, just amazing. Richard, we come to you on the other side of the water.
Yes, go abroad for in some ways, yes, business as usual. I echo Lindsay's comments. We've not seen a much big upsurge in demand, but it's probably similar to last winter, which is good. I mean, it shows things are stabilising a bit. We're still getting very good community support, unlike some food banks in the networks. We're not having to buy much, if anything. We're getting a lot of, what we need is coming into our collection areas, and some local firms have had particular collections for us. But right up to Christmas is always a good time for that. People tend to think of us, and will come say, what can we do? And we say, well, here's a list. Give us these things. And like a lot of organisations, we gave about 130 odd Christmas hampers to existing clients and recent clients. Again, with small gifts for children where we knew, which just brings a little bit of happiness. People like that. Less demand probably for what I call sort of warm weather support, perhaps than this time last year. Maybe because maybe people have already got the slow cookers and the heated blankets and things. It's still a little bit, but perhaps less of that, but certainly more demands or requests for support with energy. That's still a real problem, and it takes a bit more managing than we thought it would. I don't know if anybody else uses the fuel bank system, which is really effective because for people on prepayment meters, you basically refer them to the fuel bank and they get a voucher for, that is, at the moment it's 2 vouchers for January, £49 and another 40 just to top up their meter. I mean, you have to carry out a certain number of checks just to make sure it's meant to be for crisis support, i.e., your energy is about to run out or has done. It's not a sort of general background support. So there's some checks you have to carry out to try and make sure that it's a genuine person and they are genuinely in need. The advantage from our point of view is when we joined up with them, we put in a sort of some seed money because they're also a charity. And we've had far more money back to our clients than we ever put in because they have their own sources of support. It's a really brilliant system, and it saves volunteers having to go off and try and top up meters at pay points and so on. The downside is just lastly, we had 1 or 2 vouchers which, despite the vetting, we discovered were being redeemed in Preston.
Oh,
yeah. So we're having to look into that with them, and we think people have perhaps haven't got their code on their phone or an email. They've in some way exchanged it for money or goods or whatever, and it's being redeemed elsewhere. So it's a little snagged. I mean, it's only a few, but it does take a bit of managing because we're having to act almost as a referring agency. We've been used to being referred to, so some of our volunteers have a lot of extra work, but it's certainly a system that can work well. And the other element, I think as I mentioned last time, is increasing while we're still supporting a few people, particularly in the PL5 or just across the water, where we're encouraging them to get support locally. Now we're referring them to things like the wellbeing hubs and so on as points of contact, so they can tap into their community rather than just seeing us as a drop-in for food. It's a bit difficult because 1 or 2 people have used to come from Tabudo, used to kind of popping across the bridge to us, and of course, and a lot of the referrals that come from the DWP from either Liscard or Plymouth cover our area, so we get. They're used to referring to us for local people. So, but overall, with really good community support, I think steady but high demand, and lots of volunteers working really hard.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Richard. What I'll do is we'll look into the fuel bank a bit more. And yes, I'm aware of it, but more of on a fringe. See if we can find some more information, maybe see if somebody could come along from their organisations, come and talk to the network and just a little bit more about what they do. Yeah,
I mean, they're very easy to happy to engage. I mean, we had their link. We got involved with them because they have a very strong link with the Trussell Trust, so we were connected through that. But they'll work with any organisation that wants to give out fuel. I mean, I know Plymouth has its own support networks as well, doesn't it? Its own ways of providing fuel. So it may or may not be so useful, but for us, it's worked really well. Yes, well, I was thinking especially for those organisations that are on the fringe. I mean, we're lucky we do have Plymouth Energy Community that is very tapped into everything. But you never know. There could be somebody watching this who isn't aware of PEC or doesn't is somebody new, and we just don't it could go anywhere, so it's always worth mentioning. And just for those of you that don't know, Richard is in Saltash, just at Saltash Food Bank. So an alien.
You're not an alien. You're a very good friend, Richard. And a valued member of our network, so thank you. Eve, could we come to a quick update from you, please? If you just want to tell everybody where you're from, because just in case there's anyone new
Yes,
watching.
sure. It'll be a very quick update because I haven't been in here for a week, so things move very fast. So I'm at 4 Greens at Whitley, and let's see. So the larder continues to be busy, and I think it's been said on here earlier about how important the social side of that is. People do come and they might be in the building for several hours and actually shopping for 15 minutes. We provide tea and coffee now and have a large room which is available to people. It's a waiting area, but people do tend to come there to socialize, so they go in and get their shopping and come back into the room and catch up with friends and whoever. That's really very popular. I think kind of beyond any expectation, really, just how valuable that has been in the community. That's that. So the social supermarket thing is needs no explaining because Kelly's talked about that already, and I don't know so much about it, but I know that it's progressing. At this end, it comes up in conversation quite regularly, I think. The actual food bank, our numbers are still very low. We're not running it in the same way that we used to, so mostly would be by referral. Some people will come directly. We don't put them on our list in a kind of permanent fashion like we used to do. It may well be 3 parcels and then another assessment, that kind of thing. And people are pointed towards the community larder. We do support people on an ongoing basis, mostly through referral. And to be honest, sometimes people might come and have 3 parcels and then we won't see or hear from them from a couple of months, and then they come back again, and that's a fresh referral or a fresh situation. So, but the numbers have stayed quite low for that. Yeah, we don't do the emergency parcels anymore, so that situation has changed. There's a stronger connection between there and the larger now. Not to say that people wouldn't be given. In fact, if you saw somebody in the background a few minutes ago, it was collecting a type of an emergency parcel, a one-off. But yeah, people who are then picked up more into some kind of assessment, and you need, what kind of support do you need ongoing? And like everybody says now, it's not just about food, it's signposting, and there are quite a lot of things happening, social type of things happening here and support type of things happening here now. So they may be signposted to something that's happening at 4 Greens. There are like befriending sessions, mental health sessions. Some are just social craft sessions. There's a lot of different type of thing going on here now. And then Mark has his 50,000 tin appeal. I haven't spoken to Mark in a week because I'm only, my hours very short, part-time now, so I haven't even set eyes on him in a week. But last week when I spoke with him, he was up to over 26,000, and I think the appeal ends at the end of January, so he seemed quite happy with that. Yeah, so that's about all I've got.
Oh, that's fantastic news. Excellent. Oh, well, you've still got a bit of time left to keep going, so hopefully you'll get a few more. Yeah. And a little bit of plug for 4 Greens as well. Next Friday on the 26th, you've got a community engagement event running from 12 till 3 in the afternoon, and I'm coming with my Food is Fun hat on, so we're going to be doing some cookery demos. Live Well Southwest are going to be there, somebody from Xyla, pre-diabetic. So talking to people about different signposting. I think there's some other organisations going to be involved as well, so feel free to share that, and if you want to come along, there'll be your advice. Plymouth Community Homes as well will be there, because a lot of their residents are your service users as well. So
Tammy, can I just ask, have you sent any advertising across to 4 Greens
I'm not
had that.
organising it. It was Plymouth Community Homes that are. So yes, you should have had some.
Okay.
I'll forward it to you anyway. So you've got it. I'll send it to you directly.
Thank you. So that I can double check that we're advertising it. Like at the library, so many people come in. It would be great to have something that they can look at. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that'd be great.
Share through Thrive as well. Send me a link.
I will do. Yes, thank you. No, that'd be fantastic. So, well, thank you very much for all your updates. I'm going to sign off and say goodbye to everybody that's watching on recording, and just say thank you very much for staying with us. It's been a really informative, packed meeting. It's been great. Thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you, Kelly, for coming along. And our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, the 15th of February at 10 o'clock, and we're going to be joined by Jackie at A. Doddle, and there will probably be another speaker there as well. But that's going to be quite an informative meeting, because she's going to be going through quite a lot of the changes that they've made, and just talking through how the organisations can make those changes on your own pages. So we'll be able to share her screen. There's quite a lot of different things that are on there now that will really help you. Ways to print off lists as well, because I know that's one of the big things that have been asked, and that has been one of the most time-consuming activities ever, but we are nearly there. So that's, looking forward to announcing all of those with Jackie. So thank you very much, and we'll say goodbye to those that are watching online.